I don't think we have a presentation of the colors, so I would ask that we all rise, please, for the pledge and remain standing for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to welcome all of you here tonight and ask Dr. Aguilar, do we have any opening remarks?
Thank you. I am pleased to announce that LEF grants are now available online for classrooms and schools. A teacher may write a classroom impact grant for up to $1,000, and staff may write a school impact grant for up to $5,000. Applications will be accepted until April 4 and can be found on the LEF website at leffoundation.org. The Lafayette Parish School System will be hosting the Advanced Ed External Review for continued accreditation. A team will be here from Sunday through February 17th. We will have a school board meeting on the afternoon of February 17 at 1:30 p.m. You have received tonight a paper copy of the accreditation report. Included in this booklet is an updated version of our strategic plan. On Thursday, February 18, Lafayette Parish School System, in conjunction with Codafil and the Louisiana Consortium of Immersion Schools, will hold a special diploma ceremony at 6 p.m. This is to celebrate Lafayette Parish French immersion students who earned a DELF, which stands for a Diploma in French Language Studies. This will be awarded to students at the A2 level, which is 5th grade, B1 level, which is 8th grade, or B2 level, which is high school. Gregory Trammell, Consulate General of France in New Orleans, will present the diploma. School board members and central office staff are encouraged to attend. There will also be a financial literacy program that will be offered at the La Rosen campus through the LPSS Adult Education Program. There are 3 classes offered on February 23rd, March 8, and March 15. Each class is offered from noon until 1 p.m. so that you can attend during your lunchtime. Classes are being offered in partnership with LSU and Southern University Ag Center. For more information, contact our Adult Education Office. On Wednesday, February 17, the Lafayette Parish School System's 10th grade students will be participating in Career Connections. Please consider attending the event between the hours of 9 to 1 p.m. at the Cajun Dome Convention Center on Wednesday, February 17. I want to call to the board's attention there is an introductory item tonight which typically has no discussion. We are asking you at your first meeting in March to consider adopting the 2016-17 proposed staffing ratios. We are proposing that staffing remain at the 15-16 pupil-teacher ratio for regular education, except for selected D schools. What we will be asking the board to consider is at our emerging D schools, elementary schools, we would staff kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade, and 3rd grade. We would staff those schools at a 20-to-1 pupil-teacher ratio. In grades, in the middle schools, we have 1 emerging school. We would staff that school at a 26-to-1 pupil-teacher ratio. And we have 1 emerging school, high school, and we would staff that school also at 26-to-1. The net impact to the district would be that we would need to employ some 11 additional teachers. But again, we'll be asking overall to maintain the same pupil-teacher ratio as we have currently this school year, with the exception of the D schools. And the last item is that we were planning to have a legislative breakfast. We moved the date from March 8th to March 10th, and now we believe we've got a final answer. We are planning to hold that legislative breakfast on the morning of March 11 at the W.D. and Mary Baker Smith Career Center, and a formal invitation will go out to board members shortly. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Aguilar. Next on our agenda are do we have any additions to the agenda? If not, I would accept a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Latchley made the motion. Mr. Hidalgo seconded the motion. Any comments from members of the public? Members of the board? If not, Madam Secretary, we'll call for the vote.
Eight for, none against.
Motion carries. Moving on, I'd like to ask Mr. Duplantis to help us recognize our counselors of the year.
Today we honor the school counselors of the year for Lafayette Parish Elementary, Middle, and High Schools for the 2015-16 school year. They were selected by their counselor colleagues. Selections were based on their advocacy for professional school counseling, implementation of the comprehensive school counseling model, and their leadership contributions to school counseling within their respective schools and their district. Each counselor represented Lafayette Parish at the Louisiana School Counseling Association this past October. The principals and the staff of Elio Jadis Elementary, Youngsville Middle, and Karen Crow High School are to be commended for their support of the counseling program. We'll start by recognizing Tanya Hebert from Karen Crow High School first. Tanya Hebert started her educational career as a science teacher at Karen Crow High for 14 years before obtaining her master's degree as a school counselor. She is a member of Karen Crow High School's leadership team, where she has been a professional school counselor for 5 years. In 2014-15, she co-presented at the Louisiana Safe and Supportive School Conference in Shreveport and at the Association of Positive Behavior Support Conference on Changing a School Climate in Boston. She strives to motivate students every day and assist them with their academic and career needs, as well as their personal and emotional issues. In her off time, Tanya loves to travel with her husband and run marathons. Congratulations, Tanya. Our middle school counselor of the year is Joanna Marks, who is originally from Morgan City, and she has made her home here in Lafayette Parish for 17 years. Joanna attended the University of Southern Mississippi, where she earned a Bachelor of Science in Family Relations and a master's degree in Marriage and Family Therapy. Presently, she is the 5th and 6th grade school counselor at Youngsville Middle School. Joanna believes in being active in advocating for her profession. She has been a member of the Lafayette Professional School Counselors Organization for 10 years and has served as president as well as treasurer. During her term as president, she led an informational gathering of school board members and other Lafayette Parish counselors to advocate for the school counseling profession. She has also been a professional member of the Louisiana School Counselors Association for 12 years. Johanna has held a license in marriage and family therapy and a nationally certified school counselor. We congratulate you. And our last counselor, we saved a little bit at the end, but you'll hear in my last sentence of why I kept her for the end. In 2002, Ronette Bork began her career as a teacher at Dusson Elementary. After receiving her certification in school counseling, she was hired as the school counselor at Leo Jadis Elementary, where she continues to offer a comprehensive school counseling curriculum to all stakeholders. Ronette holds a bachelor's degree in education and a master's degree in counselor education, both from the University of Louisiana at Lafayette. She is a member of the national and state school counseling organizations and is currently serving as an officer for the Lafayette Professional School Counselors Organization. After she was nominated and selected by her peers at this year's Lafayette Parish Lafayette Parish Elementary School Counselor, Ronette went on to compete at the state level, and she is this year's Louisiana State Elementary Counselor of the Year. Congratulations.
It looks like they have another meeting to go to. You all welcome to stay throughout the rest of the meeting. However, if you do have other commitments, you're welcome to take leave at this time. All right, moving along, we have minutes we have several committee and/or regular board meeting minutes. Regular board meeting of January 13th, the Board Insurance Committee, Employee Insurance Subcommittee meeting of January 13th, and Facilities and Finance Committee meeting of February the 2nd. Mr. Morris.
I move that we accept the minutes of the meetings listed under 3.1.
Second.
Mr. Centini, was it? Mr. Centini, second the motion that we accept all the meetings under item 3. Any comments from any members of the public? From members of the board? If not, Madam Secretary, we'll call for the vote.
Eight for, none against.
Okay, motion carries. Item 4 are financial information reports. Ms. Morris?
Mr. President, I move that we accept the financial information and reports listed under 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, and 4.4 in Globo.
Second.
And second again by Mr. Centini. All of the items under 4 from 4.1 through 4.4. Any questions or comments from any members of the public? From any members of the board? If not, Madam Secretary, we'll call for the vote.
Eight for, none against.
Motion carries. Under item 5 on our agenda, we have information reports. 5.1, Early College Academy enrollment numbers for 9th and 10th grade. 5.2, personnel changes for February 10th, 2016. What are your wishes? Oh, just information. We don't have to. Yeah. Item 6. You want to discuss? You want to mention some of them, Doc?
Yes, sir, if you don't mind. Item 5.1. Ms. Donchell, is that okay?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so we'd like to call to your attention some funding decisions that need to be made regarding ECA. And so Ann Castile, principal of ECA, is here along with Robin Olivier. I'd like her to summarize the issue that we're now being faced with in terms of tuition cost for ECA students.
Hello. Good evening, board members, Superintendent Aguilard. I wanted to give you information about ECA. ECA, first of all, is a very successful program. However, SLCC's Memorandum of Understanding, which is basically the contract for which we are charged tuition from SLCC for ECA students to take dual enrollment classes, has indicated that the tuition costs will increase substantially over the course of the next 2 years. Until year after next, Lafayette Parish will have to be paying full tuition and full fees for every student who takes a dual enrollment class at SLCC. This cost, in light of the budget shortfalls that the parish is anticipating, is really going to be prohibitive. I do not want anything to happen to ECA program. We're very proud of what we have accomplished, both locally and nationally, in recognition of the efforts of my students and my teachers. One cost-saving measure that we are proposing is to reduce the enrollment of students coming into the 9th grade class and students who will be kept in the 10th grade class to a ceiling of 50 for this coming school year. Now, if we retain more than 50 students in the 10th grade, we will not ask anyone to leave. We will keep the maximum number that we can retain according to students who are academically successful. However, we would like to cap the ceiling of our enrollment in the 9th grade at 50 students. This will be a huge cost savings for the parish, and so that is what we are asking. Yes.
May I ask, is that in addition to the $1 million that we gave to SLCC? That's on top of that?
The way that SLCC, if I may, the way that SLCC has addressed the $1 million is instead of increasing the tuition to full tuition and fees 2 years ago, which they anticipated doing, they have given Lafayette Parish a discount over the course of 3 to 4 years so that it will even out to be $1 million total, that the savings to Lafayette Parish will be $1 million.
Have we given the other 500,000? Have we given the million?
I can't answer that, sir.
We have.
We made the second payment in December of 15.
Mr. Hidalgo.
Unless I'm mistaken, I thought not too long ago we were talking about the expansion of ECA. Was all of this known at the time when we were discussing the expansion of that program?
When the expansion of ECA was first mentioned, it was several years ago before we knew about the sizable increases that SLCC was going to be making to tuition and fees. In all fairness to SLCC, they face, many budget shortfalls too. And we are, and so this is one way that they have to maintain their budget and their quality of education. Unfortunately, it rolls downward to us. We could expand. Every year we get more and more applicants, but we cannot afford to expand at this time because of the budgets. Right now I have 130 applicants for the freshman class, and we will have to choose 50. Well, the lottery will choose 50 of those. Yes.
Ma'am, what about if a student chooses to pay for tuition? Is that allowable?
That would have to be discussed in the procedural. I'm not sure. I'm not able to answer that question, but I will address the fact that I think that it probably would not be something that a parent would choose to do, primarily because if a student of the quality of student that is successful at ECA goes to a regular high school and graduates in 4 years with a high enough grade point average, they get 4 years free tuition at a 4-year university. And so through the TOPS program, high school students are not eligible for the TOPS program. So the parent would have to either pay a part of the tuition, or depending upon what the parish decides is necessary, as it is. And I don't know if parents would choose to take that on, because we are looking at the current cost for one 3-hour class at SLCC is $550. For a student to take a full-time load, 12 hours, a 12-hour full-time load, which is what my juniors and seniors do, it currently runs about $2,600 in tuition and fees per semester. So we're looking at a cost of about $5,000 to $6,000 for tuition and fees for a junior to attend ECA.
My grandson attends UL, and it's $5,000 a semester.
Mm-hmm. A semester,
It
right.
might be a good, I'm just
Yeah,
speculating,
no.
but it might be a good, if I was a parent and my child could finish with an associate degree, I think I would be willing to pay.
Right. And the benefit is that my students also earn TOPS and get 4 more years of free tuition, once they graduate from ECA. And so they're not losing any free tuition. They are just, the parents would have to,
Yeah. Maybe before we limit the number of students that we're offering this to, this is the single, if I remember right, the single most successful program we have academically, nationally ranked in the parish. So before we cut services to the most successful program we have, maybe we can look at options for fully funding those students who are lucky enough to get it in the lottery, and then offering an option for parents that if they want to attend this school and they're adamant about attending the school, to realize there is a cost of doing business. This is a ripple effect of the state's problems.
right.
And instead of not offering the service for students that want to attend ECA at a fee or at a reduced fee, maybe we can absorb some of it so it's a little more affordable for families. But I'd rather see us have some sort of option to keep and expand the program because it is successful. And there are students that do pay. Actually, my son is currently enrolled at Sowella in a similar program as a high school student, and we pay for his courses. And my daughter went through a similar program at Sowella, and is now at SLCC because it is a discount. It is a tremendous discount to parents. So that would be my recommendation, is before we move to reduce the services we're providing and we come up with some innovative ideas. And maybe there's some partnerships. I mean, I know that industry is hurting as well, but maybe there's some partnerships where we can offer scholarships as well.
Mrs. Latchley?
I don't know if this question is going to make sense or not, but what does it cost to educate a regular child in high school? I mean, with the MFP money we get, compared to what does it cost to educate a child through ECA? What is the difference? The money that we get.
Well, what you have to look at is if the students who are currently at ECA, if they were actually attending school in their the zone that they were originally scheduled to attend, what would the cost be then? So if you look at the cost per student in terms of tuition, in essence, that's additional cost, because if they would have been at their high schools that they were zoned for, we have fixed costs there that are not being spread over. They're not included in the student population. So another way of saying that, we looked at it last year. So this is a rough estimate because the numbers may have changed slightly. But if those students would have attended class in their zoned high schools, we would have saved about $500,000. So to answer your question, it's an additional cost. If you look at the per pupil amount based on tuition, it doesn't give you the full picture. What you have to look at is what would the cost have been had those students attended the schools that they originally zoned for. So there is an additional cost of about roughly $500,000. And then if the population increases and if we're to absorb that additional increase in number of seats, that would add to the $500,000. So that was one of the reasons we were looking at capping it so that we could basically cap the additional costs.
Thank you, sir. That does answer my question, and I do agree with Mr. Konezik that we should look at options of not hurting a successful program in educating the children.
Mr. Hidalgo?
Mr. Guidry, is it safe to presume that these contractual agreements, were there contractual agreements on the cost of tuition at the time that the last board voted to contribute the $1 million toward ECA, or was that kind of open-ended? I can only assume that they're still within their contractual agreement.
I can't remember the exact timing. They were pretty close to one another in terms of the commitment to the $1 million and the expansion up to 1,000 seats as a result of that, and a transition from the tuition that we were paying at that point in time to the tuition that we'll be paying, the full tuition that we'll be paying in 17-18. It happened in the same year. I don't recall which one happened first. Yeah, it was pretty close in terms of the timing of it. I do recall that.
Thank you.
Mr. Centeni?
Ms. Castillo, can you help me read this chart of fees, please? I've been sitting here trying to figure out exactly what each number says. So the first two blocks are with the current enrollment.
The first, I don't have the chart in front of me, I'm sorry.
Can somebody help her? Like,
I can go,
It's
let me go to the board minutes. And,
right.
Thank you.
I assume you prepared this chart.
Yes.
Okay,
I am.
all right, okay.
I created the chart,
Okay.
thank you. But I just wanted to address the numbers you were
Sure.
asking about.
The first two blocks, the first block is
Right.
current enrollment for the next 2 years, correct? And then the bottom part is projected limits
With a reduced enrollment,
with the
yes.
reduced enrollment, okay.
So the top chart indicates if we would continue to accept 75 freshmen and 75 sophomores, not actually growing from that, but that's what we have accepted over the last 2 years while I've been there.
Okay. So what is full tuition? This is what we pay per student?
Per student, it's full tuition. There's two charges that SLCC makes. They make a per credit hour tuition charge, and then there is a fee charge that depends upon how many hours. The fee charge caps at 12 hours, which is full-time. So if a student takes 12 hours or a student takes 18 hours, there's no additional fees charged, but no additional tuition as well. SLCC still considers 12 hours to be full-time, although they are in discussion about raising that to 15. So.
Okay. And so we take the tuition charge per credit.
Mm-hmm.
This is
Yes.
however many hours for 138.96 is, well, go ahead. You sound like you were going to
Okay.
explain it to me.
Right. What we adjusted, we're always looking at saving costs. And we also had to address the fact that SLCC will no longer be offering foreign languages as college classes. They're phasing that out because of a lack of interest in general for SLCC students. And so what we are going to do, my students don't need that for an associate's degree. They only need 2 semesters of a foreign language or 2 high school credits in a foreign language to qualify for TOPS. And so what we are doing, instead of having those the sophomores take take college credits in foreign language, they will be using the eCampus system, which will basically, all of my students, sophomores, will be able to get 2 credits in foreign language within the course of a year without any additional costs, because the parish owns a license, a district-wide license for eCampus. What we are also planning on doing, instead of, and so we juggled some courses around. Next year's freshmen are going to be awarded college credit for their PE and health courses, because the courses have been submitted to SLCC, to their curriculum committee, and they have actually met the criteria necessary. I have a wonderful PE teacher who used to teach at UL, so she knows exactly what is necessary, to qualify the students to receive college credit. Because it is a Lafayette Parish teacher who is teaching it, we are saving money. They call that back-ended college awarding of college credits. Instead of paying a full tuition, we will have to pay it's 105. That's what the full tuition fee for freshmen. 105 is the full tuition to award each semester to award those PE credits on their college transcripts. Those will go toward satisfaction of some of the courses that they need for their associate's degree. Okay, it's like we're trading off languages for PEs, so that they can maintain their college credits.
Is the full tuition column, is that the proposed increase or no? Or the 2,600 that you mentioned earlier, is that what like an extra 1,000 per student?
When you say full tuition column.
So the first column says full tuition for
full
a freshman. It's
tuition,
$105.
right. I'm sorry. Yes, that would be the full tuition per course, per course for freshmen and sophomores, but for a full-time enrollment for juniors and seniors. I'm sorry. Yes.
Do any of our juniors and seniors take more than 12 hours?
Yes.
They do.
Yes.
So that number's higher for them.
No.
Or no. They
that's-
cap the tuition at 12. That's right.
Tuition
Okay.
and the fees.
And so the question I have is, why is the 16-17 annual total, is that dramatically less because of the break we're getting on the $1 million?
Yes.
That's what that is.
What the break entails is that juniors and seniors have only been charged $1 tuition per credit hour, rather than the full cost, which can amount to, hundreds of dollars per credit hour. That is what we have been paying. Lafayette Parish has been paying for the past couple of years. They will continue to pay that next year, but the following year, that break goes away.
Okay.
And so that's why you see a sizable jump from 2016-17 to 2017-18. You can see that the jump is about $500,000.
I honestly thought you had an error in your Excel formula.
No, unfortunately.
with the $1.
Right. Oh, no. No, it is only $1.
All right. Thank you very much for answering the questions.
Sure.
Yes, Ms. Morrison?
Yes. Is there any cost at all to the parents for ECA students, like books or?
Yes. The parish used to furnish college books for the students who are at ECA. Last year, the budget to supply college books was over $66,000 for my students, for their textbooks. So, this was year before last. What we started doing last year was we started providing books for rent to our students. So Lafayette Parish would purchase a book. In the Memorandum of Understanding, ECA students can use a textbook for 3 years, from the time of purchase for 3 years. So we took the cost of the book from the publisher, divided it by 3, since we could use it for 3 years, and then charged that as a rental fee to parents. It was a savings. They didn't have to pay the full price for the book. However, what we have found is that we can't compete with Amazon book rentals. We can't compete with a lot of the online. So the students have more and more stopped renting from us, and they are actually finding the books for much cheaper online. They can buy a book for $6 if it's an older edition, through Amazon. So whereas the rental fees were costing the parents anywhere from $35 if the students were only taking one class in a semester to almost $200 if they were taking a full load, now they're finding the books cheaper. So that is an additional cost that the parents will have to bear if we, end up charging some parents tuition as well.
Mr. Dalgo?
Thank you.
Dr. Aguilar and Mr. Guidry, could you all get a legal opinion regarding, parents can pay tuition to Early College Academy or even a portion of tuition if that were a viable option?
We can do that. But one of my concerns is that we've already launched the lottery for admission for the fall. We did not advertise that there would be a fee associated with that school. And likewise, it would probably be unreasonable to say only freshmen and sophomores pay the fee, upperclassmen do not. We've got some tricky issues to resolve here. And so we needed to bring this to your attention tonight. It's an information item. Making a commitment to kick in additional funds would cause us to budget about $550,000 more to maintain the program where it is today at the tuition levels that we know of today. We don't know about the future with tuition for college courses. It is the most acclaimed, successful early college program in the state, and we don't want to lose it. We know that reducing the entrance level to 50 students per year would maintain a cadre of 200 students in Lafayette Parish who could take advantage of earning an associate degree through that experience. So we need more additional guidance from the board. Are we ready? Is the board ready to contribute more funds to support the program at the current level? Or do we scale back and service 200 students in the district with this program?
I think from my perspective, I was more thinking along the lines of what Mr. Knezik mentioned earlier. In the event that this is approved and moved forward as it is proposed, we certainly, yes, Jeremy Hidalgo, District 9, my answer is we would rather service 200 students. as opposed to just none. But we certainly don't want to leave out anyone who would otherwise pay to go. And so over and above what this would provide, along the lines of what Ms. Knezik was saying, I just want to make sure that, A, it's a legal thing to do. It's public education. I'm going to assume we can, but I don't want to assume.
We'll definitely check.
Mr. Knezik?
I have a question. I'm not following the spreadsheet. So for juniors and seniors that take 12 credits, that's the full-time load.
Yes.
How much what is the proposed tuition and fee costs for one student to attend and take 12 credit hours?
For this coming school year, it's $12 for tuition.
No, I
And
mean for where you need to be, not where you are.
Oh, okay. For where we will be,
Right.
it will be, you can look down below, and a 12-hour load tuition would be approximately $168.15 for tuition, and then fees would be in addition to that.
And that's per credit hour.
Yes, per credit hour.
So I need to do the math here, 'cause that's what I'm trying to
Ms.
get.
Oh, yeah,
Knezik,
I'm
if-
sorry.
if you look at the full tuition
Full-time would be 1834.
for a
Okay.
semester,
Right.
18,
Right.
so
12
1834
hours.
in tuition, and then the fees for that student are
Would be
$435.
$435.
And they're attending ECA full-time?
2 semesters per
Full-time.
year.
Are they attending LPSS at all?
Juniors and seniors are attending classes with SLCC full-time.
Full-time. Okay, so we're talking $20-something $100, 24 something.
Mhm.
And we have a sunken cost, is what you're saying, Mr. Guidry, of about $1,800 per student. That these juniors and seniors that were in our system, because we still have the plants and the existing, you threw out a number earlier. I did the math, and I came up with $1,800 per student of
Okay, it was about $500,000.
$500,000, and I added up the total number of students, 75, 75, 70, and 61. So I'm having a hard time connecting the dots between our full MFP money, what we're paying SLCC, and then what we consider that sunken cost. And maybe I'm missing something. We're getting $10,000 roughly per student, right? 9,000 something.
Right, local and state.
Right.
Local
So
and
we have
state.
$9,000 that we're receiving in revenue per student.
What you have to look at is if those students were actually attending the high schools they were zoned for originally, you have all of the administrative costs at ECA go away. Most of the teachers that we're supplying on that campus that are LPSS employees would be decreased as well. And then so that's where the biggest that pretty much makes up that $500,000.
Okay. I gotcha. So if I add up the total number of students, I get 281 students. I divided $500,000 by 281 students, and I got $1,779 in sunken costs per student, roughly. I know these are just, so let's say that's $1,800. So what I'm having a hard time is I understand we have $1,800 in sunken costs that we can't recapture because we own the plants and we have the employees right now. But I also understand that we're taking $2,400 and paying them to educate the students. So if you total those two numbers up, it's nowhere near the $90-something $100 we get in MFP money and local tax revenue. So that's why I'm trying to figure out where it seems like in my opinion.
I'll make it very easy for you.
Yes.
Because we get about $3,900 from the state, and that is just cash we get for having a student enrolled in one of our schools. It's just barely above the $3,900. So that's why I was driving at that as well.
Okay. So it seems like we should be able to afford sending students to ECA when I do the math. So maybe I'm missing something, and we could talk about this offline, but am I missing something?
Well, at the end of the day,
Am I
that money
oversimplifying?
was being used
to fund existing costs.
Right.
So the students are transferred, we incur the additional tuition over and above that cost that we're paying, whether they're at that school or not. And
Very
that's where
similar to, I guess, the charter issue.
pretty much so.
So in other words, the total MFP doesn't follow the child to ECA. All of the money doesn't follow him. You're still using that money to run the LPSS system, right?
Well, and you know, sometimes it becomes a matter of semantics, but I would look at it, and I'm saying the same thing you're saying, but
Right.
I would say the cost stays with, you know, with the school.
Right.
That the cost doesn't follow the students, so that cost remains at the high school they would have attended, plus you incur the tuition at ECA.
Perhaps we could ask Mr. Guidry and those concerned as well as her to come up with a little chart like she did.
Sure.
Instead of just trying to divide and do all our math, you know, extemporaneously.
Not a problem.
All right? Is it okay with my fellow board members?
Yes, sir.
I certainly don't want it to die because I don't think that we should restrict students of having an opportunity to have an associate degree when they graduate from high school. And we're going to ask Dr. Aguilar to look into the legality of
Yes, sir.
parents who
I think we
choose to pay.
we should try to get our facts in order and get a legal opinion about fees, and then possibly schedule a special board meeting to discuss the anticipated enrollment for ECA. I mean, that's why we're bringing this to your attention in early February, because we need some guidance. Thank you.
Okay. Item 5.2 are personnel changes for February of 16.
President Angel, Vice President Morris, and Dr. Aguilar. We have two administrative announcements that I'd like to make before I take any questions about personnel changes. Dr. Aguilar is pleased to announce his selection for the following positions with Lafayette Parish School System. The first person I'd like to introduce to you is Ms. Shauna LeBlanc, and she will serve as our science specialist for the Lafayette Parish School System. Ms. LeBlanc earned a Bachelor's of Science degree in chemistry with a minor in biology from UL Lafayette. She also went on to earn an alternative education teacher program certificate and a Master's of Education degree from UL Lafayette. She has also earned a master's degree plus 30 graduate hours certificate, along with teaching certificates in general science, biology, chemistry, physics, and academically gifted. She began her career with Southern Petroleum Laboratories as a metal supervisor and data reviewer, and began her career in education in 2005 as an 8th grade science teacher in Vermilion Parish. After 2 years with Vermilion Parish, Shauna joined Lafayette Parish, where she taught gifted chemistry and biology at Lafayette High School since 2007. She was most recently an LEF finalist in 2015-16. Please welcome Ms. LeBlanc to her well-earned position as science specialist for Lafayette Parish School System.
Good evening. President Angel, Vice President Morris, and Dr. Aguilar, and those of you in the audience, thank you so much for having me this evening. I just wanted to kind of introduce myself. Thank you for introducing me. That was awesome. I, of course, am going to be your science specialist, and I'm very, very excited about getting started right away. Goodness, can't even tell you how excited about this opportunity I am. I have amazing visions for this district. This is an awesome district to work for and to be a part of. Lafayette High and the teachers that I have worked with have been such an inspiration and have had such a profound effect on me. The students in this parish are amazing, and they, with the right resources and the right guidance, can shine. And every student in this district can, of course, be successful, and we all know that. So I cannot wait to be a part of that, and I just wanted to say thank you for this wonderful opportunity, and thank you for believing in me, and I can't wait to show you what amazing things we have to offer you. So thank you very much.
You know, most interesting note about Ms. LeBlanc is that she did start her career in business or working as a scientist with a petroleum laboratory. That private sector experience will help us tremendously in terms of shaping our science curriculum around what produces people that can be productive in this community. So very well done, and glad that you decided to change boats in the middle of the stream. The next candidate that I would like to introduce is Ms. Jamie Hebert, and she will serve as a mathematics specialist for Lafayette Parish School System. Ms. LeBlanc earned a Bachelor's of Science degree in secondary education and a Master of Education degree with a specialization in educational leadership from UL Lafayette. Jamie has also earned education certificates in mathematics and English grades 6 to 12. She began her education career as a mathematics instructor at Comeaux High School in 2002, and then moved to Lafayette High School teaching mathematics from 2003 to 2012. During this period, she also served as an administrative intern for a couple of middle and elementary schools from August 2009 to June 2010. From November 2012 to the present, Ms. Hebert has served as an assistant principal at Lafayette High School. I'd like to tell you a brief anecdote. You know, assistant principals are responsible for discipline in the schools generally. And it was my practice when we would appoint a principal or assistant principal to go to that school with a letter and deliver it to the person in person. Because I think it's quite an honor to be appointed as a leader of academic leader of a school or co-leader. And so I got to Lafayette High School. This was shortly after my arrival here. And I went into her classroom dressed up, and there was this immediate buzz in the classroom. Just fuzzy noise and who's this and hoo-ha, hoo-ha. And all that Jamie said was, "Ladies and gentlemen," and the room went stone cold quiet. I asked Jamie before I came in here tonight, how did you gain so much control over your classroom? And her answer was, I respected the children and they respected me. She'll do a great job as a mathematics specialist, and I'd like to introduce you to Jamie now.
Good evening, Mr. Angel, Ms. Morris, and Dr. Aguilar. I am extremely excited that you have the confidence in me to give me this huge job of leading the math teachers of our district. We all know that a student's proficiency in mathematics can lead them to great successes, and it can also lead to a point where they're just extremely frustrated. I hope to build relationships with teachers and administrators in this district where I can lead mathematics to a more positive light for our students, and I am extremely excited to get started, just as Shauna. And again, thank you for your confidence in me, and I look forward to working with you.
Both of these women personify a Chinese proverb. It says the teacher opens the door and the student must walk through it. So, any questions on personnel changes?
I've been going through and counting up the new positions. Can I get an accounting? I don't think I was able to quite count to 18 for the general fund. Can I get an accounting of the new employees, the 18 that have been added to the general fund since the January meeting?
I don't have that in front of me. I can separate it and send you a report.
I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. Do you want the new employees approved for the general fund since the beginning of the year.
Right, so the at the end of your document, January 8th, 16th meeting, it says 3,790.5 employees in the general fund.
Right.
On February 4th, it says 3,808.5. I just
Okay.
like to get a report on that difference, please.
All right.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Okay. I also did give you a report I promised last week or the last meeting on the teacher turnover. So you have that trend for the last 4 years now. Thank you.
Item 6 on our agenda are introduction items, and I'll read them. Policy revisions for Section L of the Policy Manual. Policy revisions for Section M of the Policy Manual. Library Science Specialist Job Description. Lafayette Parish School System Personnel Evaluation Plan. Elimination of 2 job description titles, Support Teacher, Special Education, Community Skills Program Facilitator, and Support Teacher, Special Education, and the creation of new job description title, Community Skills Teacher, Special Education. Item 6.6, Teacher Ratio, 2016-17 school year. Approval of finalized lease terms for Track 9, Section 16 Ridge. And do we have any motion to move any of these items to action? If not, we'll move on to item 7, which are time-sensitive action items.
Mr. President, before we do that, I'm a little tardy in my question, but I had a question on the turnover spreadsheet.
Sure.
Mr. Leininger, can you highlight what this is telling us? I think this is a big deal, and we kind of brushed over it. I don't know if the audience can see the spreadsheet, but can you just quantify what the pace of the current year's turnover is and what the pace of our last year's turnover is as compared to the 2 previous years?
Yes. In 2012, 2013, you will see respectively that the teacher turnover percentages were 15.3% in 2012-13. In 2013-14, 13.7%. And then in 14-15, it was 7.8%. And we're trending this year at 3.4%. We're roughly on target with retirements. We're about halfway to the number of last year. In 2012-13 and 13-14, there were significant turnover, and in discussions with some of the teachers as they left, the amount of change that they were absorbing based upon Act 1 and all the other changes that they're dealing with, that change fatigue, I think, had people checking out to some degree or another. They were able to retire, and they did. You see that the retirement numbers are over twice as high in those 2 years as they are now. So we're trending, we'll come out somewhere around the same level, although our resignations are dropping, are lower now than they were last year, if you just take the numbers by half. The relocation out of state or spousal job change, as you see, is the largest so far. I think is a reflection of people moving and changing jobs based upon the changes in the economy. If they've lost a job in this area, they may have to move elsewhere for other opportunities. I know of at least 2 people personally. One is in Asia now, and another is in South America, perhaps Venezuela.
Okay.
So
the headline, the summary of this, the headline of this is that a year ago our turnover was 100% higher, and 2 years ago it was 400% higher, or 4 times as much.
You
in
could
2 years'
characterize.
time, turnover has been reduced by 300%, or we're now a quarter of where we were?
Well, you'd have to actually take 2014-15. You'd have to divide the numbers in half because we're a little bit more than halfway through the year. These numbers are as of 5 months into the school year.
Okay.
So they are less somewhat than they were last year. I'm going to say that if you trended it out, the turnover for resignations or total turnover will probably come out somewhere around 155 to 160 if you trend the numbers.
I'm going to conclude that morale is up then. Good job. Thank you.
I have another question.
Yes, sir.
The math young lady you just introduced, the math specialist, she goes to work. When does she start that job?
They have not started yet. We have not placed them into that position. We are working to find a replacement before we place them in that position.
That was my question.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
I was listening to Mr. Centani when he talked to me the other day.
Any other questions? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Item 7 is time-sensitive action items, E-rate cellular services. Do we need a motion, Dr. Aguilar, to accept that or not?
We do need to move that, or I'll move that we approve item 7.1.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion Centeni and second by Mr. Knizik. That we approve the E-rate cellular service. Any questions or comments from members of the audience? Any comments or questions from members of the board?
I would like to know whose item it is.
Yes.
I believe this comes from staff.
From technology.
This was presented at the Finance Committee meeting in January, and representatives from T-Mobile gave us a nice presentation. The Finance Committee voted unanimously to recommend this to the board.
Any other discussion or questions? If not, Madam Secretary, I'm sorry.
No, ma'am. I'm good.
All right, Eric? Madam Secretary, we'll call for the vote. Mr. Knizik.
Eight for, none against.
Okay, motion carries. And this ends the action items on our agenda. At this time, do we need to go into executive session? At this time, the chair would entertain a motion to go into executive session. Mr. Latchley and Ms. Morrison, second. Any questions or comments from members of the board? Well, Madam Secretary will call for the vote.
Eight for, none against.
Probably couldn't get much.
Just say like some things, you know, really give some place to
that age, they place it. Ours was a tiger. They gave us a place to go. It's not the same thing, but it gives a few kids a place to go and just sort of sit down. Their parents can make it without them having to pay for the after school care and all that.
Okay, yeah. We have a coffee depot for kids.
So we don't want to get them all caffeinated at that early age.
Exactly.
something, actually, it's almost a full $10,000.
It's like carrying two mortgages. I got one on my house and one on my camp. No matter where I'm spending my time, I'm spending money.
And before you would just spend, before you got your camp, you would just spend.
With that higher math.
Well, he's trying to do it mathematically. Basically, they're in to show them these. That program goes away, this $1 goes away. Here you go. Everything else stays the same.
$1 million. That's the money we spend.
Well, I say that's less than issue. Some of the teachers would just go back to the high school. Because you have those extra kids. That's half a million. Add about $500,000 in staff. You can save the other $500,000 you would actually save. But if you look at that $10,000, when you move those kids, almost all of that $10,000 stays at that school, so the per pupil amount just went up for the kids who are in.
Oh, no.
So it's on how you look at it. It's on how you look at it.
But this is an argument. Said this to three Bessie members. Workforce Commission. And Bessie. My comment after the first meeting. I mean, it was like, what? Wait a minute, huh? No, I've gotten to the point where I've been around all of it.
Not what it is. It's not what they.
Have silos, we still have silos. It was an argument. Well, wait a minute. Now we're just looking at SLCC and the technical college over here on Bertrand. Here's one school. College, technical college, and here's another. Academic. Got two administration. I got two administrative structures. Like the old, I proposed they should be coordinated. I killed Jesus. Well, what did they do? Why? Because you don't need it done, so you run both of them together. One's a technical, you know, if you go to a university like you, got an engineering department, you got it all one budget. You got a separate budget. It's just bringing it right now. It's one of the things. Okay, however,
Okay,
Mr. President,
I would-
move that we go back into regular session.
okay, a motion by Mr. Knizik, and second by Ms. Morrison, that we go back into regular session.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that we accept council's recommendation.
Wait just a minute, we got to vote on the regular session.
Oh, pause.
Madam Secretary will vote for the regular, to go back in regular session.
All right.
I don't think I'm going to mention a name.
Eight for, none against.
Motion carries. Mr. Knizik?
Mr. President, I recommend that we accept council's recommendation in the resolution of claim of Sherry UC.
I'll second.
Okay, motion and a second. I think Ms. Morrison.
And I just want to say I'm abstaining from this vote and from the next one regarding Ms. Poirier.
So let the record show that abstention. Let's vote, Madam Secretary.
Six for, two abstain.
Okay, motion carries.
Mr. President, I move that we accept council's recommendation in the resolution of claim of Tina Poirier.
We have a motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Ms. Morrison, second the motion. We accept the recommendation of the attorney. All those, I'm sorry. Madam Secretary, let's vote. Sure.
Six for, one against, one abstain.
Okay, motion carries. Mr. Hidalgo.
Yes, I think I know why Mr. Espinoza stayed till the end of the meeting. Dr. Aguilar, in an attempt to work hard for my constituents 24/7, I answer emails and Facebook messages and text messages at work and even sometimes during meetings. And my constituents, several of them, are concerned as to why we have not been aired on AOC for at least the last 2 meetings. Do we know why?
We do. AOC's having some technical issues. We have been live streaming all of our meetings. AOC's had some problems. We were notified at the very beginning of this meeting that, again, they were having technical issues. The meeting was available on YouTube. They were instructed, AOC was instructed to notify the viewers that it's a problem on their end. They're working to rectify the problem.
Thank you very much. I just wanted you to say that. It's on their end. Thank you.
Mr. Centeni?
I will say that in their admission that it's a problem on their end, here's a tweet from AOC. AOC cannot air tonight's LPSB meeting due to technical issues beyond our control. Guarantee you this is going to be our fault.
Okay, before we adjourn, and I'm going to adjourn in a minute, but let's just remember the young lady, was it Lafayette Middle School student who died in a terrible accident involving a four-wheeler. Are you kidding? No, I didn't realize that. Sad. Okay, this concludes our agenda. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.